Most of us know our sun sign, but do we really know what our sun sign is about? Okay, so they say that the ascendant is how people see us, but is it really how people see us, or is it what we are supposed to become? The moon, the good old moon, just gets in the bloody way. We need to drop that moon.
Raising consciousness through lyrics is the thing that I do best, and fuck, I love it, so they'll love it, cause it's coming from my chest. I made a home in me and now I'm free to carry on my quest. I ain't done until I've built my...
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Holly Williams. My work goes underneath In Me Artin. That means the light within me. Of course, that light was cultivated in the darkness. So you can basically find me underneath In Me Artin on things like TikTok and Instagram. Anyway, let's get into the video. And before I get into the video, look, guys, this is my key word for the week. Consistency. Consistency is key. I have put this everywhere this week just to make sure that I'm consistent with all the things I want to achieve. Anyway, let's get into the video. So this video is about the sun, the moon, and the ascendant in astrology. Or I'm going to say the sun, the ascendant, and the moon, because that's the order I'm going to speak about them in. And you know, whether you love astrology or not, whether you're into astrology or not, I just think this is an amazing piece of information. The theory behind it, I just think, is very eye-opening. So anyway, let's get into it. Let's get straight into it. Let's start with the sun sign. So the sun sign in astrology is probably the most well-known one. You know, even if you don't know anything about astrology, most people know their sun sign. And, you know, it makes sense that most people know their sun sign, because I would say that your sun sign is linked to your sense of self. It's linked to that I aspect, or it's almost linked to the ego. Do you know what I mean? That part of ourselves that we are here to continuously master on this journey. The ego, our sense of self, the I aspect, you know, very much that Leo energy. Leo is linked to the ego and the I, and it is ruled by the sun. So anyway, don't worry about that part, but let's just say the sun sign, we all typically know our sun sign, and we are mostly born with, we're born with basically the strengths and the weaknesses of our sun sign. And some of us will resonate a lot with our sun sign, while some of us are kind of like, well, you know, I don't really just feel like the sun sign. And you don't need to worry if you don't, because it isn't the most important part of the zodiac. I don't even know if there is a most important part of the chart, or your placements or whatever, but basically, you know, if you are very much in touch with your sun sign, you will resonate with it, and if you're not, it doesn't really matter. But what I would always suggest doing, I'm going to make suggestions about what I would do with this information. What I would always suggest doing is taking a look at your sun sign, and then reading about it, looking at the strengths of the sign and looking at the weaknesses of the sign, or looking at the constructive behaviors of the sign and the destructive behaviors of the sign, and seeing where you feel you resonate with that information, if you feel like you resonate with that information. Now, sometimes people won't. Now, I'm going to give you an example. I've read somebody's chart, I've looked at somebody's chart, and I thought she was a Pisces before I ever got her date of birth. That was my guess. It was like 100% Pisces energy, like, yeah, she exudes Piscean energy. Turns out her date of birth is, well, I don't know what her date of birth is, but turns out she was an Aries. And I just thought to myself, no bloody way. Like, when I heard the date of birth, like, I can't believe she's an Aries. That's crazy. But then when I got into her chart, I realised that she had like 60 something percent water energy, and then like 30 something percent earth energy. So water and earth are the feminine elements, and she just exuded Pisces energy. And so although she's an Aries, like, she's literally a whole bunch of feminine energy, and Aries is very masculine in its energy. And so maybe she would, if she really looked at it and thought about it and thought about herself, maybe she would still resonate with parts of the Aries in some ways, maybe beneath the surface even. You know, maybe she exudes a lot of water, but maybe somewhere in the depths there, underneath all that water, is this Aryan energy, is some form of Aries that is linked to the ego and the self, but maybe it's masked by a lot of that water. And I think you can dive really deep, and you can really spend a lot of time. You know, we're complex beings, and maybe you can, even if you don't necessarily resonate strongly with your sun sign, maybe you can still find where it sits in your ego, and where parts of it sit in your sense of self. So yeah, with the sun sign, we're typically born with the strengths and weaknesses of that sign. and we're here to learn to tap into those strengths and almost to overcome the weaknesses. Please don't listen to me saying strengths and weaknesses as such. I definitely see it more as constructive energies and destructive energies. I think we build or we break, not that things are good or bad or necessarily strong or weak. It's just much easier for me to say strengths and weaknesses because I always stutter on destructive because I always go to say deconstructive. So anyway, right, for me, for example, I'm a Cancerian, my sun sign is Cancerian, and I definitely resonated with Cancer energy a lot whilst I was young. And I think that maybe you do resonate with your sun sign a lot when you are young because you are new into this world. And I think that when you step into new experiences, you may tap into the energy of your sun a lot more because you have the ego maybe that is driving the vehicle a little bit more. And I will make that clearer as we move on to the Ascendant next. But yeah, I definitely, I see the strengths of the Cancerian, nurturing, caring, all of that kind of stuff. And I also see where I definitely struggled to let go of the past, where I was moody and emotional and had mood swings and all that kind of stuff. And I really had to spend a big chunk of my time overcoming those destructive behaviors of my sign. And that was really, really good for me. The thing is that because I do think this is an ongoing journey, like I'm saying, when you get thrown into a new environment, when I moved back here, for example, I suddenly felt like the Cancer again, and it was so odd because I just hadn't resonated with that sign for such a long time, or not deeply resonated with it for such a long time. I'd definitely been in other areas of my chart, but I really had to go back to Cancer and be like, oh gosh, like let's go back into the Cancer energy. I need to work through these things again, my mood swings and my emotions and all that kind of stuff. And so I do think it's an ongoing journey, and that you'll be deeply in your sun sign at parts of your life and less so in other parts of your life. Okay, so that's going to take me straight onto the Ascendant, right? And the reason I talk about this is because for a long time I resonated deeply with my Ascendant. Now my Ascendant is Virgo, and the Ascendant in astrology typically is said to be the sign that people see within us, when they meet us. So people, I could be a Cancer, but people would see me as a Virgo if they just met me because I would act like a Virgo. And yes, to some part this is true because your Ascendant sits on the cusp of your first house, and your first house is your overall physical appearance. It's almost like your expression, your aura, the energy that you just emit. And so that is why it's kind of seen as that thing, who you sort of show yourself as. But I definitely see it as the energy that you are meant to become. Now, the Ascendant is the sign that you are meant to become. It's the sign that life is trying to teach you to become. It's the archetype that you are being encouraged to step into to fulfill your purpose, because that's your aura. That's who you were being asked to really be. But it takes time to do that. So in order to actually become the Ascendant, we need to work through our ego. So we need to actually work through our sun sign. We need to work through our challenges wherever Saturn is. Do you know what I mean? We need to work through our emotions. We need to work through a lot of stuff before we can actually really become our Ascendant. But I think it's an amazing journey, and life will try to push you that way so that you can become your Ascendant. So what I would do with that information is I would mostly look at the strengths of the Ascendant and see if you can tap into them and utilize them and become them. Obviously, also look at the destructive energies or the weaknesses of because you can also be those, right? And you still want to overcome those, but you really want to try and utilize the strengths. Also, do you resonate with that sign at all already? Could you see yourself becoming that type of an archetype? Could you see yourself wanting to step into that energy? If Sagittarius is on your Ascendant, do you want to become the warm, loving teacher? If Leo is on your Ascendant, do you want to become a leader that leads from the heart? But also look at it and be like, but maybe Leo's my Ascendant and I do want to be the leader that leads from the heart, but currently I'm burning everybody around me because I care only about myself. So just take a look at that. Or for me, Virgo, do I want to be somebody that helps to increase the level of consciousness, or do I want to be over analytical, critical, and a perfectionist and never get anything done because I'm so obsessed with it having to be perfect? And you know, like, can you see that both the strengths and weaknesses, and can you again utilize the strengths? Can you become your ascendant, essentially? It's almost like the sun is the ego here, and then the ascendant is kind of like the spirit, I kind of want to say. Although I do have theories that spirit sits somewhere else, but in the chart, but it's almost like it's the spirit, you know, it's what really wants to come through and shine and live this life from its best spirit, you know, light, bright, white, whatever you want to call it, wants to come through in that sign, in the ascendant, the sign, your ascendant, the sign on your first house. Why am I losing my speech? Anyway, so yeah, that is the ascendant, and that is what I would do with the ascendant. I'm trying to think if there is anything I missed, because honestly, guys, I sat here and I filmed this video a minute ago and it didn't film. It filmed 50 seconds of it. Technology is the bane of my life, really. So I'm making sure that I haven't missed any key points. I'm just going to have to move on, really. So the ascendant is who you are challenged to become. I do believe life will throw you tests to help you become the ascendant. Maybe even think about how the tests that you have been thrown in this life can help you become the ascendant. For me, I had a knee injury, do you know what I mean? And that got me depressed. And the Virgo is the sign that like looks after the physical, emotional, and the physical body, the emotional body, and I cannot remember the last one. What's wrong with me? Anyway, it perfects the vehicle so that a higher level of consciousness can come through. And so my first challenge was a knee injury, and I sunk into depression, and that is really what tapped me into that Virgo energy, because I had to become analytical of myself at such a deeper level. And that was Saturn taking away my hobby, and him taking away my hobby, football, what I really was passionate about, something I was really passionate about, spiraled me into this place in which I had to learn to get back out of it. And then I had to learn how to really look after my body in a new way, because I was now had an injury. So I learned how to sort of perfect this vessel with the organization of the Virgo, but also the mental capacity of the Virgo. And that's how I began to resonate more with the energy of the Virgo. It's funny, it's mad when you really put it together. But I do think you're supposed to become your ascendant. Moving on, let's go on to the moon. So the moon in astrology is linked to the emotions, it's linked to the past, and you know, where the moon placement, I believe this is a theory, is that it shows you kind of what you already know, what you already have. Almost, if your moon is in Aquarius, it might mean that you've already got that Aquarian energy and you've gained it from a past life. You know, the moon is linked to the past, and so that energy naturally sits in you as well. But you will tap into that energy a lot more when you are under pressure, and a lot of the time that energy of that sign and that house placement can hold you back from becoming your best self, or from doing the things that you want to do. And I will explain this, because although we have emotions, right, and we want to feel emotions, we don't want to avoid any emotions. That's not what I'm suggesting. But what I'm saying is sometimes emotions can be a block. They can be a barrier. You know, for example, if I want to make a YouTube channel and put all my stuff out there to be my Virgo and try and help raise consciousness, or whatever it is, but I'm upset because so-and-so commented this, and I'm upset because not enough people like me, or I'm upset because of something, that can hold me back from actually going and doing the thing that I'm supposed to do, for example. So sometimes emotions can get in the way, like, and yeah, essentially that's kind of, you know, what I'm trying to say here is that the moon sign is our baggage, and it's something that we hold in us. It's almost like our soul, you know. So we had the sun is like the ego, the ascendant is almost like the spirit, and the moon is almost like this soul of experience that we already have. But when we're under pressure, and when we feel almost threatened, we will maybe slip into the behaviors and not necessarily the constructive behaviors, but more so the destructive behaviors of our moon sign and house placement. And so I would suggest looking at the moon sign and seeing if you, when under pressure, when feeling threatened, when emotional, do you behave like that sign, or the thingy in that, the sign or the house that the moon is in? Okay, and I can, when I'm emotional, I have the moon in my 5th house and it's in Aquarius. When I'm emotional, I can act like the Leo. I can be quite the Leo. Do you know what I mean? I can become arrogant, and I need to, boost my own ego very much when I'm, in my emotions, and I can really become quite like the Leo. And I'm also very aware that my emotions are triggered by the state of humanity, and that's Aquarius. Do you know what I mean? And many things. I don't need to go into the whole reading of my own chart, but they are things that hold me back from being my best version. When I tap into those types of emotions of those 2 signs. I'm just going to check the video. And so, yeah, that is what I would sort of do with the moon sign. And I hope I didn't miss anything, because I did do, I think, a really good job of recording this video the first time. So I hope I got everything in there as well as I did in the first one. But if I didn't, I didn't. But yeah, guys, so yeah, just quick recap. Sun is almost like sense of self, the ego. You are here to look at the strengths and weaknesses of that sign and begin to master them. For the Ascendant, you are here to become that. That is what you spiritually want to become in this lifetime, and you have to embrace the challenges that show you how to become that Ascendant, and you have to learn to master the ego or the sun sign so that you can also step into that Ascendant. And then the moon is the emotional baggage that you need to overcome once again, so you can step into that Ascendant and really do your task here on this material plane. You will feel I think you will flip between the sun and the Ascendant at different times when you're very comfortable in life and in the evolution process. You will start to become your Ascendant, and then however, if you change suddenly, you might be acting like your Ascendant, but if you change your environment, you change things and you step out of your comfort zone, then you maybe become your sun sign again, because suddenly your ego sort of kind of comes up to the surface again, and then you get used to your surroundings, and you learn to bring that back down, that ego back down, and then your Ascendant comes back through. So I don't know if I mentioned already, but when I lived in Melbourne and I'd really sort of adjusted and created my life, I was very much like my Ascendant. And then when I came back to the UK just recently, and it was such a big change for me, I was very much like my sun sign again. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm very much like the Cancer right now. I need to go back into this Cancerian energy and take a look at what's going on. And just now, I'm really starting to feel like my Ascendant again. I'm starting to feel like that Virgo. So anyway, that is that really. If you made it this far, I really appreciate that. I'm not so good at the outros. I'm learning to get better. But if you made it this far, I really appreciate your time, energy, and time on my channel and watching this video. Thank you so much. If you like this video, like it. It helps me so much for the goals that I want to achieve and the lifestyle that I want to create. If you like my content, subscribe to this channel, because I will continuously be producing more. Remember that word, consistency. That is occurring in the life right now. So if you want to subscribe. Once again, that helps me as well. And drop a comment below if there's anything that you want me to talk about, because I do love talking. So share your ideas with me. Thank you for everybody who does comment. I love hearing your comments. I love reading them. It's beautiful. And I appreciate that. Appreciate the feedback all the time. So, thank you for watching. I hope that this video delivered something that you need, or something that could be of benefit to you. And this outro is now getting incredibly long. So I will see you in the next video.